Right now, somewhere in the world, someone with less talent than you, less money than you, and fewer advantages than you is winning. Not because life handed them something better. Because they learned something you haven't learned yet. They learned how to control the one thing that controls everything else. Their mind. You've been taught that success comes from working harder, waking up earlier, grinding longer, and sure, that matters. But here's what nobody tells you. You can work 18 hours a day and still lose if your mind is working against you the entire time. You can have the perfect plan, the perfect resources, the perfect opportunity, and still watch it slip through your fingers because of what's happening between your own two ears. This is the truth almost nobody wants to hear. Your mind is not naturally your ally. It was built for survival, not success. It was built to keep you safe, not to make you great. And until you understand that difference, you will keep sabotaging yourself without even realizing it's happening. Let's talk about what's really going on inside your head. Every single day, your brain runs somewhere around 60,000 thoughts. Most of them are automatic. Most of them are repeats from yesterday. And here's the part that should scare you a little. Studies suggest that for most people, the majority of those thoughts lean negative. Doubt, fear, comparison, self-criticism. Your own mind, left unmanaged, is running a smear campaign against you around the clock. Think about the last time you wanted to start something. A business, a workout routine, a hard conversation you needed to have. What happened? Before you even took the first step, a voice showed up. That voice had excuses ready. It had reasons why now wasn't the right time. It reminded you of every past failure. It told you that people like you don't do things like that. That voice feels like truth. It feels like wisdom. It feels like protection. But it's not your friend. It's an old survival mechanism running outdated software, and it will talk you out of the exact things that would change your life if you let it. Here's the first shift you need to make. You are not your thoughts. Read that again. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Thoughts arrive uninvited, like weather. You don't choose the first thought that pops into your head. But you absolutely choose which ones you feed, which ones you act on, and which ones you let die on arrival. The people who look unstoppable from the outside, the ones who seem to have some kind of unshakable confidence, they are not thinking fewer negative thoughts than you. They're just not obeying them. That's the entire difference. Not the absence of doubt. The refusal to let doubt drive. Now let's go deeper, because understanding this intellectually isn't enough. You need to know how to actually apply it. Principle 1. Your mind moves toward whatever you consistently focus on. This isn't some vague spiritual idea, it's basic neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. Its job is to filter reality and decide what's important enough for you to notice. If you constantly focus on what's going wrong, your brain will find you more evidence of what's going wrong. If you train it to look for opportunity, for progress, for the next move, it will start finding that instead. Same world, completely different experience of it. This is why two people can go through the exact same hardship and come out with two completely different stories about what it meant. Principle 2. Discipline is not motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. They show up when they want and they leave when they want. If you're waiting to feel motivated before you take action, you'll be waiting most of your life. Discipline is different. Discipline is a decision made once, in advance, so you don't have to renegotiate with yourself every single day. The people who train your mind at the highest level don't rely on how they feel in the moment. They built the decision before the moment arrived. When the alarm goes off, there's no debate. The debate already happened, days or weeks earlier, when they decided who they were going to be. Principle 3. Comfort is the silent killer of potential. Nobody ever grew while staying comfortable. Every version of you that you're proud of today exists because a past version of you did something uncomfortable. Had the hard conversation, took the risk, showed up when it would have been easier not to. Your mind will always try to pull you back toward comfort, because comfort feels like safety. But safety and growth cannot occupy the same space. You have to choose. Every single day, you're choosing one or the other, whether you realize it or not. Principle 4. Your self-talk is programming your future behavior right now, in real time. The way you talk to yourself when you fail determines whether you get back up or stay down. If your internal voice says, "I always mess things up," you're not just describing a moment, you're writing a script for how you'll respond to the next 100 moments just like it. But if you can catch that voice and rewrite it, if you can say instead, "That didn't work, what can I learn and adjust," you completely change your trajectory. Same failure, different future. All because of the 4 seconds of internal dialogue that happened right after it. Let's talk about fear for a second, because fear is the biggest mental obstacle standing between you and the life you actually want. Fear feels like information. It feels like your brain warning you about real danger. But most of the fear you feel today isn't about physical danger at all. It's about social danger. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear of looking foolish in front of people who, statistically, are barely paying attention to you in the first place because they're consumed by their own fears. Here's what almost nobody tells you about fear. It doesn't go away when you get better. It doesn't go away when you get more experienced. It doesn't go away when you finally feel ready. The people who do the biggest things in this world still feel fear before they do them. The difference is they've trained themselves to act while afraid instead of waiting for the fear to disappear first. Waiting for fear to disappear is a trap, because fear only shrinks after you've already done the thing enough times that it stops being unfamiliar. Which means the only way through it is directly through it. Not around it. Not after it clears up on its own. Through it, while it's still uncomfortable, while your hands are still shaking a little. This is the mental shift that separates people who talk about change from people who actually become someone different. It's not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move anyway. Now let's talk about something most people avoid facing directly. The stories you're telling yourself about who you are. Somewhere along the way, you picked up a set of beliefs about yourself. Maybe you were told you weren't smart enough. Maybe you watched someone in your life fail at something and quietly decided that meant you'd fail at it too. Maybe one bad moment years ago got turned into a permanent identity. I'm not a disciplined person. I'm bad with money. I always give up. These sentences feel like facts, but they're not facts. They're old conclusions, drawn from limited evidence, that you've been treating as unchangeable truth ever since. Your identity is not fixed. It is one of the most flexible things about you, if you're willing to actually work on it. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. Skip the workout, that's a vote for, "I'm someone who doesn't follow through." Show up even when you don't feel like it, that's a vote for, "I'm someone who keeps commitments." Nobody becomes disciplined through one decision. They become disciplined through hundreds of small votes that eventually add up to a new identity that feels solid and true. This means you don't need to wait until you feel like a different person to start acting like one. You act your way into the identity, not the other way around. Let's get practical for a second, because none of this matters if you can't apply it. First, control your inputs. What you consume shapes what you believe is normal. If you're surrounded by negativity, comparison, and low standards, your mind will calibrate to that. If you deliberately surround yourself with higher standards, whether that's the people you spend time with, the content you consume, or the goals you set, your mind recalibrates upward too. You are, whether you like it or not, an average of your environment. Choose it on purpose instead of letting it choose you. Second, master the first 20 minutes of your day. How you start your morning sets the tone your mind will carry for hours. If the first thing you do is grab your phone and absorb everyone else's opinions, emergencies, and highlight reels, you've handed control of your mental state to the outside world before you even got out of bed. Reclaim those minutes. Even something as simple as a few minutes of stillness, movement, or clear intention setting before you touch a screen puts you back in the driver's seat of your own mind. Third, use failure as data, not identity. When something goes wrong, ask what it's teaching you instead of what it says about your worth. This single shift, treating failure as information instead of judgment, is one of the most powerful mental tools that separates people who keep going from people who quit. Fourth, get comfortable being uncomfortable on purpose. Cold showers, hard conversations, workouts when you don't feel like it. Not because the specific activity is magic, but because you're training your mind to stay calm and functional under discomfort. That skill transfers to everything. business setbacks, relationship conflict, unexpected loss. The person who has practiced staying steady in small discomforts will handle the big ones without falling apart. Fifth, watch your language. Stop saying, I have to. Start saying, I get to. Stop saying, I can't. Start asking, how could I? Small shifts in language change the way your brain frames a problem, and the way it's framed determines whether you see a wall or a door. Here's something important to understand. None of this means suppressing negative emotion or pretending everything is fine when it's not. That's not mental mastery, that's avoidance, and avoidance always catches up with you eventually. Real mental mastery means feeling the fear, feeling the doubt, feeling the frustration fully, and still choosing your response deliberately instead of reacting on autopilot. It's not about never feeling weak. It's about not letting the weak moment make your decisions for you. Think about where you'd be in 1 year if you mastered this. Not perfect, not fearless, just in control, able to catch the negative voice before it drives the car, able to act despite fear instead of waiting for fear to leave, able to look at failure and see fuel instead of proof that you should quit. That version of you isn't a fantasy. It's built the same way anything else is built. Small repeated choices, compounding over time, until one day the new way of thinking isn't something you have to force anymore. It's just who you are. The people who look like they have it all figured out started exactly where you're starting. The only difference between where you are and where they are is the number of times they chose the harder mental path when it would have been easier to give in. Your mind is the one thing you will carry into every single situation for the rest of your life. Every relationship, every opportunity, every setback. It's the common denominator in everything that happens to you. Which means it's also the highest leverage thing you could possibly invest in. You don't need a better environment first. You don't need more resources first. You don't need permission from anyone. You need to start where you are, with the mind you have right now, and begin the slow, unglamorous work of taking back control of it, one thought, one decision, one uncomfortable action at a time. Master your mind, and everything else you've been chasing starts to become inevitable. If this hit you the way it hit me writing it, stay around. There's more where this came from.